Has to be that much.
Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council, May 2nd of 2023. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, and in the Press of Atlantic City on Saturday, January 7th of this year. May I have a flag salute by Council President Pro Tem, please?
All right. Please. Please be seated. All right. Roll call.
Roll call, Mrs. Bucci.
Here.
Mrs. Carfano.
Here.
Mr. Deweese.
Here.
Mr. Leeds.
Here.
Mr. Notaro.
Here.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Palestina.
Here.
Mr. Chow. Mr. President.
Thank you. So we'll start off tonight. Some folks here have asked to give a presentation about potential cannabis business. As you know, just to put it on the record, obviously this is not passed yet in Northfield, but it is. We will be discussing it in this year.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to speak with the council. I'm here because we understand that you are considering how to handle the referendum from last November. And we'd like to present some information and facts to you
Sorry.
For your consideration.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Could you just state your name and
Yeah,
address for the record?
Yeah,
Apologize.
my name is, Leo B. Chauffeur, and my address is 1 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township. New Jersey.
Thank you.
Because I was saying, we want to present some facts and some information to you for your consideration. This is not part of any application or any petition or anything like that. This is strictly our request to present information and facts to you for your consideration. I'd like to, if I may, just spend 1 minute to introduce myself, give you a little background for those of you who don't know me. Again, my name is Leo Chauffeur. I am an attorney by training. I've been in my family real estate business, Chauffeur Enterprises, for over 40 years. You may know some of our developments like the offshore commercial park. About 16 years ago, together with some other people, we acquired the Kensington Furniture Store on Tilton Road. And we renovated it and converted it into a multi-tenant lifestyle center, which we are very proud of. Approximately 11 years ago, we brought the first cannabis business to Atlantic County. The name of that was the Compassionate Care Foundation. At that time, it was a medical cannabis facility. And since that time, it has developed into a medical and adult recreational use facility. It consists of 85,000 square feet. I am the owner of that building. I have been the landlord to that operation for 11 years. It has been a successful operation in Egg Harbor Township. And I think that if you consult with the elected officials in Egg Harbor Township, they will tell you that they are pleased with having Compassionate Care Foundation as a business in the township. So we'd like to present some boards to you, and we can give you some handouts as well if these boards are not legible. Why don't you, let me introduce my two colleagues in this venture. This is John Fleischman, and this is Kayla Montero. And we have an entity known as Conservatory Cannabis Company. But again, I'm just giving you that for the information. We are not an applicant here tonight in any way.
Thank you.
Since we don't have it, we don't.
It's close enough for you. Kayla's also gonna pass out a handout, which will also have all the same information.
Okay.
for that. I'll try to come around. Then.
So first, let me just give you a brief overview. This board is a couple of weeks past, so there's been a slight change to this, but this gives you an overview. The Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which is the CRC, breaks the state of New Jersey down into into three parts: Central Jersey, South Jersey, and North Jersey. On this map, you will see a flower, and that flower represents the 22 operational adult use dispensaries within the state of New Jersey. There are only three approved state retail licenses in Atlantic County. At the time we did this, only one was operational, the one in our park that I was referring to, Compassionate Care. Since then, one has opened up in Atlantic City, so there are now two that are operational. And that is where we are right now. There are 47 non-operational state retail licenses that have been approved, but they are in various degrees. Some may get open, some may not get open. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview. So we happen to have an entity. Our entity is one of the three that has been licensed in Atlantic County. If you move over to the chart that says safety in cannabis retail state regulation, I don't have to tell you that this is a heavily regulated industry here in the state of New Jersey. Safety and security are very, very important, and surveillance and access control by the state on a 24/7 basis by video camera is also very important. In our facility, in Egg Harbor Township, I think we have 37 cameras that are tied into the state, and at any time, the state can look and see what's going on throughout the facility and know what's going on, again, 24/7. It is my understanding that in Northfield, you are only considering what the state calls a Class 5 retail license, no other licenses. And those licenses are renewed on an annual basis. Okay, it's important to know that. The next thing in terms of the regulation I'd like to point out for your consideration is the quality assurance and control of this industry, especially in comparison with the black market. Firstly, all products are grown in a licensed and controlled environment. And at some point, if you'd like to see the one that we have, I'd be happy to take you for a tour and show you the conditions under which it is grown here in Atlanta County and the controls that are inherent there too, and how it's done. It'd be very interesting, and I offer that to you. Next, there are state licensed testing centers to ensure that all products are defect free. Next, the state has a system they call the metric, in which they track every product from seed to sale. From the initial seed to the ultimate sale, they track the product. Next, all products are in a child-resistant packaging. Next, all products are tested and labeled with precise amounts of THC percentage and a list of all ingredients. Okay, that's on the state level. Now I'd like to talk about a few things with regard to safety in retail, and particularly with regard to the city of Northfield. I know that there was an ordinance that was drafted. I don't think it was ever introduced, to the best of my knowledge. Is that correct, Mr. Pacenda?
Yeah.
This ordinance 12 of 2021.
There was one permitting which was never introduced.
Never introduced, but I'd just like to point out, so there was an ordinance drafted for retail cannabis and for delivery cannabis, which I think you've now are now moving forward with. And there's some very good points here. So in terms of Northfield, let me just point out a few things for your consideration. Obviously, the facility should be located within a commercial zone, such as Tilton Road, and that's going to be up to your discretion and discretion of your professionals where best to situate that zone. Next, facilities should be within heated and air-conditioned buildings with the proper type of ventilation to make sure that there would be no odor emanating from the facilities. Transparency with the Northfield Police is important, and we suggest a direct line of communication. Next, in terms of local licensing, there should be, similar to other municipalities, a local letter of approval should be applied for, considered by your municipality, and then then given an approval or denial for that particular entity to then move forward with an application for the state, unless it's a previously licensed one, in which case they should be required to get a letter of approval for a location in Northfield. As in the proposed ordinance, there should be restricted hours of operation from 9 in the morning to 10 in the evening at the most. And then in addition to that, there should be a ban on consumption lounges so that there is no use going on within those facilities. Okay, so that is some things that we suggest that you consider from a local perspective. And as I said, many of these are already in the proposed ordinance. The next sheet in the handout, we'd like to talk about what are the most common concerns that people have and comment on those for your consideration. Firstly, as I mentioned earlier, is the question of odor. Everything should be done to ensure that there is no odor emanating from the retail establishment. Since there is no growing and since all products will be in airtight sealed containers coming in and going out, and since the individual establishment should have a proper HVAC system, odor should not be a problem. The second concern is minors. Only adults 21 years older with a valid ID can enter the dispensary, including employees. I believe that dispensaries, and if I were to have a dispensary, I would have a foyer that would separate the outside door from the dispensary so that all clients would have to come through, show their ID, be validated before they could enter into the dispensary. That would be a double check to make certain that no one under the age of 21 were entering. Again, no consumption should be allowed on the property. It's important that the establishments prohibit loitering. And those are the concerns I've given out to you here just for your information. A chart showing a consumption by US consumers by age group, just for your information, but I won't go through that. And the next chart, again, is strictly for your information. It's US citizens who have consumed cannabis by age, and you can see the source on the bottom of that. I'd like to move on again and then go over some of what we believe are perceived benefits of having dispensaries in Northfield. We'll start out with tax revenue, and again, that tax revenue is in this proposed ordinance in 21. You can have a user tax of up to 2% per cannabis transaction. Based upon current market trends, we estimate that each dispensary would produce about $250,000 to the city of Northfield in tax revenue. Again, that is our guesstimate. Interestingly, recently I spoke to some people in Summers Point, and they came up with a much higher number. But this, I think, is a reasonable number for you to consider. Now, cannabis market is expected to increase by about 6% per year with increased consumer awareness of this recreational cannabis and wider acceptance of it by the general population. The next benefit would be job creation. We believe that there will be approximately 25 new jobs per dispensary. This would be, of course, a new industry for the city of Northfield. The next benefit would be there would be a closer distance for the citizens of Northfield to purchase cannabis, and they wouldn't have to travel to other municipalities and pay tax to other municipalities rather than their home municipality during the purchase of cannabis. The next benefit we suggest is increased tourism. Two ways. Customers come looking for new dispensaries in order to avail themselves of the product. And also, if we were to put it, for example, on Tilton Road, we know, and you know better than us, and we know from Kensington Furniture, that a large number of our customers and clientele are people that travel down Tilton Road to go to the shore communities, particularly during the summer. And if there were retail establishments on Tilton Road, those people would stop along Tilton Road to avail themselves of the dispensary. And then what you have is that you have out-of-town people that are spending money and paying tax revenue in the city of Northfield. So we think it's important that to benefit that we are collecting tax from non-residents. And we'd like to suggest that by collecting the user tax, that can be used by the city to perhaps reduce local taxes and produce income for special projects that the city feels that are important. Lastly, I think this is going to be the last sheet I'm going to make reference to. Why a dispensary in Northfield makes sense. Firstly, 57% of Northfield citizens voted yes to allow up to 3 cannabis dispensaries. Next, 67% of New Jersey citizens voted yes in the 2020 state referendum to legalize recreational cannabis. We have from reliable sources that about 70.35% of Northfield residents voted yes in the 2020 state referendum. Again, Northfield residents should not be forced to purchase cannabis in another municipality. Next, not allowing cannabis sales will not keep citizens from enjoying cannabis, but instead it will prevent the city from generating tax revenue. Next, delivery services will be coming in and out of the city, but Northfield will not be able to reap any of the tax benefits. So Class 6 license is a delivery service. So someone in Northfield can call a delivery service in EHT or in Pleasantville and have it delivered to their home, and that tax benefit would go to the city from where the sale is emanating. And lastly, we believe, and this is very important, that legalizing this will help eliminate the black market, which, you know, when people buy from the black market, they don't know what they're buying. They really don't. I mean, they can be told, they can think what they're buying, but they're not getting something in which the state has approved the packaging and the state has approved of the lettering on, which identifies everything that is in the package and the percent of that. When something is bought on the black market, God knows what people are buying. And by making it available in a legal format, you are preventing people from ingesting those type of products of which they have no idea what they're taking. So those are what we feel and respectfully suggest why it makes sense in the city of Northfield. So again, I have a little bit of experience, you know, having dealt with a dispensary and being the landlord for 10 years. And I can tell you that many of the concerns that you have are well-founded concerns, but are dealt with by the state legislation. And the last thing I'd like to say is that, you know, only if, because I know there's decisions have to be made, you know, if this comes to Northfield, these retail dispensaries do not have to look like and be like what the preconception of them is. They can be very attractive stores. You know, my vision for a cannabis dispensary is to look like an Apple store. To look on the outside to be very professional, not to have neon, not to have flashy lightings, not to look like that at all, but to look almost professional. And we've been looking at ways to achieve that. And I think that is very important, that these establishments can be regulated so that they are appealing and they don't look like what people will perceive them to look like. So I know I've taken up a lot of your time. I appreciate that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now, or you can contact me at any time in my office, and I'll be happy to provide you with whatever information we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chauffeur. I did have one question. On the last page, it does have on here the next to last bullet point, reduce the chance of minors using cannabis. How is that addressed?
I
In your-
think, well, that I think it's going to reduce it because it's going to eliminate the black market. I think it's
Okay.
going to be difficult for the black market to exist in the town once it becomes legal. And once that's eliminated, that's where the kids are getting it. They're getting it from the black market. So the idea here is to get rid of the black market, to put them out of business. Okay, if we can put them out of business, then the kids won't be able to get it from them.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
Okay, thank you very
thank you.
much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you. Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Councilman Leeds.
Follow up with fire and event report for the next meeting. There's some things that I'm working out with the fire department, trying to get clarification on, especially about response.
Okay, thank you. Councilman DeWeese.
Thank you, sir. The Vector truck is, out and in service. It's, they rolled it out today and used it for the first time. So, I'll check tomorrow to see how things went, but, I'm anxious to see how things went. The other, the sign out front, Quinn has been in contact with the actual company that put this sign in place, the contract to come up with a lighting system that was on the attached to the bottom of the sign, and it didn't illuminate it very well. So, Quinn is in contact with the company who installed the sign and see if we can come up with some other ideas. So that's still in the works. The other issue is a football score tower. We're waiting for Atlantic Electric to do some work over there, so the contractor can proceed with his electrical work. So I will follow up tomorrow to try and get an update from Atlantic Electric. But that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mabuchi.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Municipal Alliance, May 20th is at 10:30 a.m. is the Bike Skills Through Life Skills. It's going to take place at the Tuckahoe Bike Shop, which is now in London Square Mall. I wasn't aware of that. June 3rd, 2023, from 10 to 2 at Birch Grove is Hooked on Fishing. Pre-registration for that is required, so make sure that you reach out to Shannon Campbell in the clerk's office. August 3rd, 2023, from 6 to 8 at Birch Grove Park is our National Night Out. This Economic Development Commission, we're continuing to work on the economic element and a vision plan for the city of Northfield. The ACEA is working on obtaining a planner for us to draft that. They're providing that at their cost. So that's one of the benefits of belonging to the ACEA. It's something that needs to be done. We need to get with the times and have a comprehensive economic development element like the municipalities around us have. One of the things that the EDC we're working on is doing some speaker events to help the businesses in our community, possibly in conjunction with the other EDCs from other municipalities, one per quarter. And the last thing is the Northfield Business Association, which is the private separate entity from the EDC. They're having their summer kickoff at the AC Country Club on May 17th from 5:30 to 7:30. That's free for members, and it's $20 beforehand for non-members and $25 the night for non-members. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Smith.
Not much to report. The Little League season got off to a rousing start. We wish them success and good weather as they progress through the season. Northfield Community School did share their budget proposal at the last meeting. That's on their website. You want to check that out. Shared service, we're still working through some things with County Court and Hamilton Court, obviously, and with the dispatch. Nothing really new to report there. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I saw that the court meeting was canceled for tomorrow. Councilwoman Carfagna.
Council President, the only thing I have is, there was a board meeting for mainland in April. And, Northfield residents will see a slight increase in health this year for tax contributions. The next board meeting for mainland is May 15th at 6 p.m. Northfield Community School, I got a call and, they're gonna be doing an unveiling for Doreen Nuttall. They have a bench prepared for her, so if anybody would like to attend, it will be held after school around 3 o'clock near the playground on May 9th. And then lastly, for Memorial Day ceremonies, if everybody can come out. It should be nice. It's gonna be held at Veterans Park, Purple Heart Way, AKA Oak Road, on May 29th. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Notaro.
No report this evening.
Okay, and I have no report either. Moving on to the ad hoc committees. Um, There's no update on the electric vehicles. We're still going through those for the master plan. Is there any update for the food truck?
Set up.
Hi.
Another. Probably do that for next week.
Okay. And cannabis, we just had the presentations or,
I think the chief. to get his consent.
oh yeah, and he'll be involved in all
Yeah.
discussions, I would hope.
Mr. President, can I
Yes,
make a statement, please?
you may.
I apologize for being late for that presentation. They ran out of here. I would have liked to have seen all of it. I apologize for my lateness. I coached softball at Mainland, so I just came from the game. So that's why I was a little bit late this evening. I didn't hear all of it, obviously, but I think in good conscience, I can't be on this committee. I don't think $250,000 in tax revenue is worth one suicide of any student or young person or individual addicted to marijuana. I have been consistent and firm in my opposition to marijuana in Northfield. I think it's disgrace personally. That's my personal opinion. I don't care how much tax revenue it generates in Northfield. I don't want it in Northfield. I don't agree with it. All right, so I'm one of those 30% in Northfield that is opposed to it. I can't in good conscience be on a committee looking towards approving retail cannabis, if that's what council wants to move forward with, if that's what the city residents want to move forward with, I cannot in good conscience be on a committee looking to approve it anywhere in Northfield. So my vote in anything here is no, I don't want it. I don't think, you brought up a point, I'm glad you beat me to it, about to reduce the chance of minors using cannabis. I don't think the legalization of cannabis reduces the chance of minors using it. I think that's a ridiculous statement. We're receiving, and the mayor isn't here this evening, but he forwarded some information to us showing that in Colorado, the likelihood of suicide has risen 40% since they legalized marijuana. Right? That's a 40% increase in teen suicide. Right? I think that is not worth any amount of tax revenue for the city. So I cannot, again, in good conscience, I ask to be removed from that committee if someone wants to step up and take part in that, but I just can't. I can't.
I understand. I was surprised you agreed to be on it in the first place, so thank you. Well, is there anyone else who would like to replace Councilman Smith on the committee? Right at this point, we'll leave it with the two members. If we need to make changes, we will at a future date. The affordable housing, we do have a meeting this week, so there is no update at this time. We'll be meeting with our representatives from Bearish. Was it?
Our attorney.
Our
And
attorney
planner.
from someone, our planner and our attorney, okay. The work session, the other topics, the stormwater. Is that anything back from them? No? All right. Okay. And we haven't heard back from Habitat on those two lots that are for sale. They were interested, but there has been no update. And I believe we spoke about the sober living. Is there any?
Yeah, I did a little research on that. Councilman Notaro presented me with Linwood's ordinance. I did speak with some people from Linwood. They haven't seen any backlash with respect to it. What I would like to do, assuming council wants to move forward, is I can research the issue a little bit more and start to prepare an ordinance for council's consideration, if that's what council wants to do.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Is there anyone that has any to add to that? I would like to.
We need to check, because the senator told us that there's no regulations, we can't do it. Just because they did it doesn't mean they're allowed it. Make sure we can do it before we do it.
No problem. And who told you that, Councilman Reese?
Senator Paulson's office.
And is that, well, I think the concerns there are proximity to other homes. So that there's not, I mean, I think that's one of the main things is not to have a concentration.
Proximity to each other, proximity to school, playground, things like that.
Those are the big concerns.
Really, that'll really address it.
Thank you. I think is there any new grant opportunities that I think you, or do you want to talk about that in your other report or?
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that we have one on the agenda tonight that we did receive. Gotta like that. Okay. With that, we'll move on. Everybody can please refer to the agendas. Approval of the minutes, Councilwoman Bucci and Councilman Smith. Resolutions, the consent agenda. Is there any one item that anyone would like removed from consent agenda? Okay,
Came from 106.
okay.
Only because we share the same name, even though we're not related.
Okay, resolutions, Councilman Leeds and Councilwoman Carfagna. Ordinance 7, Councilman DeWeese and Councilman Notaro. Payment of bills, Councilman Smith and Councilwoman Carfagna. Meeting notices, Councilman Notaro. With that, we'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic, we ask that you please step forward, state your name and address for the record, and if you can, observe a 5-minute limit per speaker. Anyone in Zoom wishing to speak, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, seeing no one, will close this public session. And may I have a motion to adjourn the work session? Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we'll begin the regular meeting momentarily. Right now. Okay. Losing Greg.
That's your.
Yeah, so okay, we're gonna get started. Here.
Good evening. This is the regular session of Northfield City Council, May 2nd of 2023. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, and in the Press of Atlantic City on January 7th of this year. We have a flag salute led by Council President Pro Tem DeWeese, please.
Public wish stand. Liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
He went last. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Mrs. Bucci?
Here.
Mrs. Carfano?
Here.
Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here,
Mr. Chow? Mr. President?
thank you. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I'd like to make the necessary motion for approval of the minutes from April 18th, 2023. They've been posted in the clerk's office.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? May I have a motion to vote by consent agenda, resolutions 104 through, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Never mind. Mayor's not here, was not doing the mayor's report. City engineer. I know, I'm just like, feel like. Okay. Okay, and you can contact Public Works and come up with one. Yeah. And what is that, to put it in, into CAD system or? Okay.
When we provide them with a fund with a product, like plan showing what they have done, it will be.
Okay.
That's how we run.
Rami, is there a company that does that work for us, or is that something we do in-house?
Any other questions? Thank you. At this time, we'll open the regular meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic, we ask that you please step forward and state your name and address for the record. And observe 5-minute limit per speaker.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members, professionals. My name is Kevin Balistreri. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Hankin Sandman, Palladino, Weintraub and Bell in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The address is 30 South New York Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of our client, the Atlantic City Country Club, and joined by several of the professionals at the club, as well as several members who are not only members, but they live right on the golf course. And we're all here to express our support for an ordinance which I see on the agenda tonight, which is ordinance 7-2023. And we're here to urge the council to move that forward to a second reading and a public hearing. I won't belabor this, but I just want to give a little background. As you may know, the Atlantic City Country Club's been around since 1897. Looking at the seal behind us, the city was incorporated in 1905. Just to give you a little context of the history here. I'm joined again by point them out, Bob and Lorraine Poe, living on the second hole, right on the green. Mr. Martin Grazer, who lives on the first hole. Dr. Ron Gove, who lives right off the 12th tee box, as well as Mike Burke, who's the director of golf, and Nick Burrow, the general manager. The proposed ordinance 7-2023 amends the existing ordinance restricting the operation of power lawn equipment, which is fairly restrictive, and we're asking for the council's consideration to amend that so that we can get the courts ready for the players in the morning hours, especially between Labor Day and Memorial Day. So we're here just to express our support, and if there are any questions that the council has, we're happy to answer those. So that's the answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you plan to, the modified time? What exactly do you plan to mow?
So currently, can I get into this? Is that right?
Yes, since it is on the agenda, so
Great.
let's,
So currently, like I said, the existing ordinance is fairly restricted. It restricts the use or operation of power lawn equipment from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. By contrast, you can run a jackhammer in the city from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Most municipalities that I've researched have carve outs for golf courses that operate within the boundaries of municipalities, understanding that there are early tee times, especially in spring and summer months, and therefore you need to get the course ready, especially the greens. I think to be the central issue. So what we are proposing is that simply between Memorial Day and Labor Day on weekends, being able to get out there and prepare the greens, and of course, starting at 6 a.m. And on non-weekends and non-holidays, it would be 6:30 a.m. So we think that's pretty much in line with what we've seen in neighboring municipalities. And I don't want to belabor the point or it's been around for a long time. It's a historic golf course. It's a major part of this community. I think I heard Councilwoman Bucci reference it in passing during her remarks from the work session. There's some event coming up there.
RMDA, yeah.
So we try to be good neighbors. We want to do everything by the book and do it right. But we are asking for some consideration. And again, I understand it's not the hearing tonight. We just would really love it if the council would put it on for a second reading and a public hearing so that we can, address all those issues and have an opportunity to be heard. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
anyone?
Can I just ask with the, what's our time right now? What are the time restrictions?
8.
8 a.m. to 9 p.m. for lawn.
8 to 9, we're going from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. on the weekend. I get the exceptions there, but
No, of course, and it's a good question. So what we're talking about is between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And we're talking about weekends. I think if you do the math, you count them off about 60 days a year.
And when you say weekends, you mean Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not
I
just,
do.
not just
From a
Saturdays.
golf perspective.
Yes. I just want to clarify that so everyone knows what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Hmm.
A lot of golfers.
Ordinance go to 6 a.m.
Down,
for
They want to
cutting.
get out.
For
It's
what?
beautiful in the morning. It's prime golf time. Also, they want to be back with
Cutting.
their families. spending it
6 a.m.
At the house or at the beach
Mm.
with their kids. So, pretty standard to have early morning defense, especially during those months. And when you can't even run the equipment until 8 a.m., it really restricts your ability to get the course ready. I think Mr. Nick Burrow, the general manager, would be in a much better place to respond to substantive questions about why that's necessary. We could do that at the next hearing, assuming if the council decides to put it on, or we can answer it today.
I would like some information, I would like questions answered before we put it on. quite honestly.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I mean, we can go over the 5 minutes. I mean, this is important.
I can see by time to Mr. Nick Burrow, even though we're, the same.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we're,
Nick, would you be willing to come on up and answer any questions that the councilman or the council members have about why we're asking for what we're asking for?
Just need your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name's Nick Burrow, I'm the manager of the Atlantic State Country Club, with the Forbes Canal Court, Fort East New Jersey.
Could you, address, I guess, we're going from 8 to 6 a.m. That's a pretty drastic, in my opinion, pretty kind of substantial time gap there. What is, could you just kind of address please why you're looking for such a decrease or an earlier time?
Sure, I mean, whether, I don't know if you're a golfer or not, but in the golf world, it's weekend mornings is when you play golf. Whether you have other things to do in the afternoons or not, that is the most sought after times, and that is basically our chance to make our operating budget for the year. Without weekend mornings, doesn't matter what you do during the weekends, not a lot of people will play. By the time you get to 10 o'clock, have not uninterested, maybe is the best word to put it, doesn't want to play at that point. So you only have 60 times per hour at any given time to get 4 players out. 24 players per hour is all that plays in the golf course. So every hour you have in the morning is 24 players. When you're talking about a club that has 300 or 350 members, clearly you can't get all of those players out in one day. But to be able to accommodate as many as you can, you need as many hours. And the morning is the time that everyone wants to play. We can tell everybody, ask every single golfer, what time would you like to play? At 8 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. Right? And in order to get that time, not everybody can go at the same time. So you got people that want to go back to 10 o'clock. Some people have to go push forward at 7 o'clock. But the time change, so for us to start first tee time, we need to be out ahead. So we need to get the golf course right. That includes cutting greens, cutting tee boxes, raking bunkers. Not all of that stuff makes noise either. There's weekly practices, there's daily practices, there's monthly practices. There's only a few of those items that actually make noise. And where we're talking about the neighbors with holes or where they live on certain holes, you're only ever on one particular hole at a time for about 15 to 20 minutes. And that's it. So any particular neighbor, if you live in the first hole, you might hear some more for 15 to 20 minutes and you wouldn't hear us again.
That include tee box and green?
That would include tee box because you have multiple people on the hole. You might have one person mowing the tee box, one person mowing the green, fairway. So it's collection of 5-6 people, and then they're moving up. We have to get out in front of that first tee time, and then we have to stay out. Once the golfers go, we can never go back. Because now it's just golfer after golfer after golfer. So that's why, if that answers your question, why we need time to be early.
Is there, I know one of the discussions that we had previously was about doing it later, and that why does it have to be done first thing in the morning with some of the mowing? Does it have to be done first thing in the morning? Can it be done at the end of the day?
So
After the golfers have finished for the evening?
sure. So to answer the question the best way, I'll use an analogy. You go out to a restaurant, you get a piece of fresh chicken. When's it going to be best for you? Right then and there. Right. And the next morning, it's not nearly as. So in golf, when you cut the grass fresh, it's like hair, but it grows a little faster, right? It's going to grow throughout the day. By the time you get to even the afternoon, there's a noticeable difference in conditions on the golf course, and it's enough where when you consider yourself a high level club, it's a big difference. And everything when it comes to golf, your reputation is based on your green speed. How fast are your greens? How quick are your greens? How nice are your greens? And when you talk about even 6 hours difference, to answer your question, if you went from the morning to the afternoon or did it late at night, which is another 8 hours before the morning start, it's a huge difference to be able to do that. So it doesn't work. But in the summer months is really what we just need to be able to do that. Because outside of that, I mean, we're even right now, we don't have a lot of demand for people trying to play at 7 o'clock. It's a day like today, it's not that nice. You're not getting a lot of players out there, and they're okay playing at 10 o'clock. We don't try to push you to play on here, but that's why.
If you adjust your mowing based upon your first tee time? Like
Yes.
today, you didn't go out at 6:30 or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, you probably pushed everything back.
Correct. Whatever our first tee time we would have out there, we don't start at hour 4, right? And right now, our first season is at 8 o'clock, so we're not starting, we start until 7.
So I guess the one question I would put out there, because I had an individual who is a resident who lived along one of the holes, who, I mean, I got an email from them, that individual, expressing concern because of their child and the early times when it's been out. And I know there was an issue in 2 times. I spoke with him, person to person, about the fact that he has a child who has disability, who is impacted by the sound of lawn mowing equipment outside of, I'm not even sure if it's blue as well, but outside of their window. And the major concern that we have to think about in terms of how does this impact, I know we have some residents here, but if we have an individual with disabilities who's impacted by the early mowing time, how can we assuage that? How can we, accommodate them when it's a disruption to their home life?
The answer to that question best is, we don't know. We've been, obviously, at the project for a long time. We've had a lot of neighbors come and go over the years. Anytime we've had an issue with neighbors, every time but now, it's been dealt with one-on-one. We've been able to talk. We've been able to go down and say, hey, what's your concerns? How can we make this work? Is there, what's your schedule? What's, are there times that this doesn't work for you, or the date that this does work for you? Can we find a common ground for this? We have not been able to approach this person. We tried going to the house, we tried calling, we tried being able to do that, to work something out, because we don't know what the limitations are. We don't know if there's an opportunity to appease them, make it work for both parties. We just haven't been presented with that opportunity, so it's hard to know how to answer that question without actually knowing, is it 8 o'clock? If it was 9 o'clock, we do not want to go before that. What is the time frame that could be a possibility to move? So we don't have a great answer to that question, just because we don't know what the true restrictions are.
As a kid, I worked at the golf course. This mowing cycle is nothing new. This isn't like it just popped up out of the blue and this is the time that you've been doing. I mean, I know from, 20, 30 years ago, we were cutting grass out there at 6 a.m. Maybe early sometime, earlier. So I don't think this is anything new that the town hasn't experienced in the past.
So then what you're saying is it's a clear violation of the ordinance all this time?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that I think that the golf course, no one has ever said anything. Number one,
True.
and
Just 'cause you don't say anything doesn't
I
mean
think
it's a
that-
violation.
no, what I'm saying is that I think that, over time, the vast, that's a big area out there. So, I mean, if you're cutting out, blocks away from houses, I mean, I know the fairways are a little close to Golf View, but listen, developers come in, they build houses on golf courses. You're going to hear mowers. I really think there should be something carved out for them. I honestly do. They need to get that business going. So I'm a yes for putting it on.
Mr. President, and I do appreciate you coming here to try to come up with a compromise, but I will say this, that under the past administration under Chief Newman, we had received quite a few complaints. And the police department have gone over there early in the morning and asked them to change and conform with the ordinance. And it got very much out of hand, at them, which respect was not being followed. And I know for a fact myself, as you probably may know, I live right across the street. And I've heard the noises or the sound of the machinery occur somewhere around 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, it doesn't bother me, but when I get neighbors who complain and then I send the message to Chief Newman at that time, we were going back and forth with your lawyers or legal advice or people. We finally, I assume, came to a resolution, but there have been complaints, and I certainly agree that there's no problem with trying to adjust the hours.
But I want you to be aware that, at one point in time when Chief Newman was the chief, we've had problems.
Mayor, if I may respond, Kevin Downs, City Council. Yes, thanks to the country club. I think Mr. Lee made a comment as well. I'm an attorney, and I tell my clients all the time, when you have a court order, either follow it or you move to modify it. Here we have an ordinance, you either comply with it or go through the process to seek the hearing, so that we can discuss an appropriate modification. And that's all we're asking for today, obviously. I mean, no one's voting on this today. We just want an opportunity to be heard, and we understand the concerns and the prior violations. And that's a big part of the reason why we're here, trying to do this the right way through the process.
Yeah.
I also have several other members who live on that golf course. And we want to hear from them because their perspective, I'm sure they'd be happy to speak up as well. I know today's not the hearing, so I'm going to try to put everybody up here.
Thank you.
But I just want to say that many, and a public hearing might be the best chance to talk all this out. And we can hear from all the interested parties before making a decision, but we'd love the opportunity to have that.
Well, and I do appreciate it, and I understand you're trying to be a good neighbor. And we're dealing with a lot of people that it could affect, but, and I think this is the right avenue that you're coming for, to try to make up some kind of compromise, which I think we can all live with.
Thank you.
I also lived on the golf course. I've never, ever had a problem with any kind of noise anywhere near there. If any of the residents want to speak on the opposition of that, I'd love to hear it, or with that, I would love to hear it. So I know we have some residents here now that I'd like to see what their experience
Did you have a
is.
question as well, Councilman Capran?
Same thing.
Okay.
I mean, this has been put on the agenda, so I wasn't sure if anybody did have opposition to it. They can.
It's only on the agenda tonight for introduction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it
next
can be.
meeting will be
This is just open, this is open for any comment right now. This isn't on it. Yeah.
talking about pigs, rats, or golf.
Okay. All right, well, I don't think anyone has any additional questions for you, Nick. Thank you. If any of the other residents would like to step forward, we welcome you at this point. Since we're on the roll.
Your name and address?
Grayson, East Falcon Drive. I've never. I've always been. South Jersey, is the destination location. All the other businesses, one season for the other, extended hours. Daylight is earlier today, they go out. Weather. And go out and fly early. But I don't hear the lower. I hear kids and dogs. That's a fact, that's not. It's really not the model for the equipment. Really can't hear it. And I walk my dog. Out there. Not issue more with get the kids and the dog. That's what I what they have to do to maintain. Take care of the members, take care of the public. It's they see
Did you say you live on the second hole, the tee box? Do you live on the tee box or the green? The second hole, right? Second hole?
well,
And the first hole.
second.
So this, okay, so the first green. Is that one of the first greens in the morning that you cut? Okay.
That's not an issue.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Good evening.
Dr. Ronald Gove, I live on Fargo Lane,
Yes, sir.
and
where I live is on Peter. Kind of on the 12th P, 12th Green, 5th Green, and 4th in between them all. I've been here since 1984, 20 years, and come and see it go, with different kinds of cutting, doing things to make people happy. I personally have never been bothered by it all. I knew I was going to be building in the country club, and that was part of the game that you had to play. It's like golf ball the women. So people hit the golf ball the women, particularly in look for stuff. I found that the people were professional using the equipment, prompt, quiet, don't hang around, don't talk and yell back with confidence through the thing, especially the key boxes are really fast. I think this particular country club has tried very well to do it, use good equipment, it's not loud. Chief of police could appear on the road. Would probably make me more upset than motorcycles going through, and trucks going through, and the machine is only about 50 or more. Found that the other neighbors that live in the street and didn't have anybody bothering us, tried it all, and couldn't make a point. Can't speak for some of the first sound, but I think for the largest taxpayer in Northfield, which contributes tax revenue, brings huge population to the budget, and part of that budget requires perfect, pristine rock. This cannot be done by cutting them on 8 o'clock. People want to get into the golf early, we have things to do in the day, we're going to be having lunch over here, we're moving on over. So I think the overall picture is a greater benefit for all. In this case, of course, overrule people who came in after, just like the golf ball rule is. You hit my house, and my house was there before you came, you're responsible. People that bought these homes should know that when the golf course would make noise. There's people yelling, screaming obscenity, playing golf cards. So those people who try to be happy, they're not gonna make them. I have absolutely no resolution problem, except to say I'll keep the people as quickly as possible, and get through and get them to get. Great course, we should keep them happy and successful. A lot of options.
Thank you.
In a president there, 40 years plus. Like having Central Park moved down to New York, 100 acres. It's a beautiful thing. And we could have a house, 20, 50 months. That's we built this world.
Thank you, Trev. Is there anyone in Zoom wishing to speak? Please raise your hand. Anyone else here wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we will now close the public session. I have a motion for consent agenda for resolutions 104 through 111.
To adopt resolutions 104 to 108, 110, and 111, 2020.
Oh, thank you. Good catch. 109 is not in there. We don't have a 109. That's, oh.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, but to vote by consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? You have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt resolutions 104, 2023 through 108, 2023, 110. 2023 and 111, 2023.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mrs. Carfano?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes, and then definitely
Extension of 106.
Noted. Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Motion for introduction of ordinance 7-2023.
I'll make the necessary motion to introduce ordinance 7/2023
Second.
to be read by title only.
Oh, sorry. Second.
That was Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. President, do you want to give the name?
From the publication of the initial, agenda, I did, strike one whereas clause, which you'll see on the last page of your agenda. And I did define, the term weekend as a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So those are the two changes you'll see in red in your agenda. I think they're, right?
Yeah.
That was all.
Thank you. The ordinance 7 of 2023 is an ordinance amending chapter 233, article 2, section 5 of the code of the city of Northfield governing the use of power lawn equipment. This is the introduction. There will be no public input, and the ordinance, if approved this evening, will be published in the Press of Atlantic City on Saturday, May 6th. It is presently posted in the lobby of City Hall as well as on the municipal website. Any member of the public who requests a copy of the ordinance will be provided with one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk during regular business hours. There will be a second reading, a public hearing, after which the matter will be considered for final adoption on May 16th of 2023.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bucci.
Yes.
Mrs. Carfano.
Yes.
Mr. Deweese.
Yes.
Mr. Leeds.
Yes.
Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
Motion carries to the introduction of ordinance 7 of 2023.
May I have a motion for payment of bills?
Yes, I'd like to make the necessary motion to authorize payment of the bills in the amount of $3,319,022.22.
Second.
Roll call. Oh, I did indicate one abstention on the payment of the bills. I see.
Oh, please.
Yep. I think it was 4,000.
Mr. Palestine will be abstaining from item 2-01-44-906, 4,000. Purchase order 22-00758 in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you.
Roll call. Mrs. Bucci. Mrs. Carfano.
Yes.
Mr. Deweese.
Yes.
Mr. Leeds.
Yes.
Mr. Notaro.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Palestina.
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
Meeting notices?
Our next city council meeting will be May 16th at, our work session is at 6 PM and our regular, meeting follows right after.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Hey, Mary.
No, I didn't oppose. I was a late.
Mary, Mary,
It would be there. It was a late eye.
Mary, is it possible I could be assigned a different chair? It's getting hard for me to see over the dais. This chair, your chair,
Get rid of that one.
Huh?
It doesn't break. It keeps.
it's been like this since
Mine
months.
says too.
Yes. I usually get it and I can't throw it.
I need a new hydraulic.
I'm almost down to the floor. Look at this. Down the line, yeah, keep going down the line. I'm the end.
The mayor needs a booster.
I think that chair's got to go.
Oh, God.
How about these?